The Authority Hangout. Conversations with the top SEOs, community managers, content marketers, and thought leaders in the digital marketing space. Join us to learn more about optimizing your online presence and growing your brand's authority. Hangout. I'm Michelle Stinson-Ross, part of the AuthorityLabs team. I am joined today by Melissa Fach and Chase Granberry, also of AuthorityLabs. And since Miss Melissa is going to be our discussion moderator, I'm going to hand it off to her to introduce our special guests.
Okay. Well, we're lucky today. We have two Pubcon pros. We have Simon Heseltine and Dave Rohrer. I'm pronouncing those right?
No.
No?
Simon Heseltine.
Heseltine. See, that's good. So
it sounds better. It sounds more.
Sounds old.
Heseltine.
So what I'd like to get started, if Simon, you could introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do, and give us a little bit of your Pubcon history. Then we'll go to Dave.
Sure. So I'm Simon Heseltine. I'm the Senior Director of Audience Development at AOL, which means I just work with a bunch of our sites, HuffPost, TechCrunch, Engadget, so forth. This will be my 5th Pubcon, 4th in Vegas, and then one show I did in Florida. And so far, I've survived them all.
Awesome. Dave, what about you?
I was just doing the math. It starts getting quite a few. I think that this is my 11th Pubcon Vegas. I haven't missed one since ever for Vegas, and then I think 3 or 4 other Pubcons. I forget.
Cool. And what do you do for work?
For work? As of April this year, I decided that I'd work for myself. So I started my own agency finally in April called Northside Metrics. So I've been doing that. So basically working from home still, which is kind of nice. I like it.
Right. Now, Chase, you've hit a lot of Pubcons, right? How many have you been to, do you think?
I think at least 5, maybe 6. Well, I've been to Vegas every year except one because I was getting married that week. So it's at least 5 Vegas, and then a couple of years I've been to New Orleans. So I've been to a number of Pubcons.
Cool. All right, so I'm wondering if you guys have like your top 3 survival tips for Pubcon. Like, what are your top 3 things you recommend?
Well, I mean, there's the basic common sense stuff for a start. Be prepared for when you're getting out there. Make sure you're packing everything you need out there, all your medications and so forth. Probably the first thing to do when you get there, head out to a pharmacy and buy plenty of water or Gatorade or whatever your drink of choice is, because you're going to be needing it. It's kind of dry out there, and especially if you're going to be imbibing on an evening. It's probably good to make sure that you have some light refreshments that don't have rum in them.
Good one.
Is vodka okay?
The dehydration, there's really no way to explain to people how much damage that does to you while you're out there.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Chris.
It's even worse. I mean, we're in Phoenix, so it's a desert, and people don't, when they come to Phoenix or you go to Vegas from a place that's humid, I mean, you don't need to drink nearly as much water in a place like Florida as you do Vegas, and so people don't realize, like, even if you're not drinking a lot, like alcohol-wise, like, you still need to drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you wear contacts, you might want to bring some little drops for your eyes as well.
Yeah. My husband says he needs chapstick out there.
That's a drinking water issue.
Is it?
Yeah, he's not hydrated enough.
Ah, okay. See, that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, have you ever been dehydrated out there?
Perhaps. One of the things I do is I'll either bring powdered Gatorade and I'll put it in the water, Especially if you're on a budget, you can just refill any water bottle and just, throw some powdered Gator in there. But drink one when you wake up, no matter what, and drink a big 32-ounce before you go to bed. Even if you didn't drink, even if it's 8 o'clock and you're just tired, like Chase and everyone said, it is super dry out there. So I always take extra vitamins and extra Gatorade or Powerade or whatever your preference is. Drink a lot.
And that's for the electrolytes. It's more than just hydration, right? Is that what I'm getting?
For me, yeah. It also just tastes better. I drink lots of water daily, so I drink 32-ounce glasses of water constantly all day. Trying not to drink as much pop. So I drink lots of water anyway. So when I'm out there at a conference in general or just traveling, I will get dehydrated because I just don't drink as much as I usually do at home.
Well, we all know that after the conference each day, there's lots of places to go in Vegas, and people tend to get slightly intoxicated, right? So what tips do you have for people surviving the next day and actually making it to the conference and feeling good? Because you don't want to miss those networking opportunities.
Yeah. Well, so if you have something that you want to attend the next morning, don't get drunk. Because you're going to miss it in most cases, or just not feel good when you're there. Ideally, again, like every second or third drink, make it a soft drink. If it's your round, go to the bar and get a soft drink while you're getting the round in for everybody else. But you do want to make sure you're there for those networking opportunities. You want to make sure that you're making friends with people, you're talking to them. The first 2 conferences I went to, I didn't speak to anybody. And it wasn't the same experience as when I went to my 3rd conference and actually started engaging with people. And talking to peers in the industry, making friends. There are some people that I talked to at that 3rd conference that I'm still friends with today. So you don't want to be afraid for talking to people. Plus, it helps you to build up those peer networks, and it can help you find a job as well if you ever decide to change positions at some point.
Right.
Well, I think the biggest thing with conferences is that I think, and to Simon's point, a lot of people go to things like Pubcon and conferences in general, for the information, but it really is the networking that the real value is. And I don't think that, basically my goal with conferences, obviously, AuthorityLabs, so my goal is to go kind of meet people to help promote AuthorityLabs, but really I've just gone and just tried to make friends with people in the industry because, that's how things get done, is with friends. And that's what makes it fun, and that's what makes you want to do this and you want to go to these conferences, is not only for the information, but just because, now you've got friends there and you can hang out and you can meet new friends, and I think that's ultimately where a lot of the value is. And it makes it easy too, right? Like you're not going to specifically have this goal. It's like, okay, the goal is to put yourself out there and make new friends, essentially,
Yeah, and I think everyone is pretty open at Pubcon to meeting people.
Mm-hmm.
I always make money, or always made money attending Pubcon because I would network with people. So.
As opposed to at the slots table, at the tables.
No, Chase. In 2012, Chase took me to the Golden Nugget, and we played craps, and I won.
Yeah, she did.
I did. Not a lot, but it was money. So.
Yeah.
But so Dave, do you have any thoughts? You're an extremely friendly guy.
Now that I've been going for so long to many different conferences, I still make it a goal to try to meet one new person at least at every conference. And over the years, I've met Chase, Michelle, I've met all 4 of you at conferences over the years. Mm-hmm. I met my wife at a conference many, many years ago. Wasn't until the 3rd time I actually talked to her, but I met her multiple times. But I always try to go with the goal of meeting one person. When I was in-house and had to validate, my going and having things paid for, I would look at internal problems we were having, and Simon works at AOL. If we had a big content issue, I might seek out Simon or one of the speakers I was going to see, and specifically try to talk to them at an event somewhere and go, hey, this is a small problem we're having. You kind of talked about it in there. Try to reference something if you can, but just say, I just want your quick advice on something. Don't do it at 2 in the morning, and don't do it when they're deep in a conversation with someone else or having dinner with perhaps a client or wife or significant other. But go with the goal of trying to get questions answered, whether it's be talking to someone specifically or attending sessions that answer those things. Because then I would go back and say, here's the 5 problems we were having, or the 5 things that I wasn't quite sure about. These 3 people talked about them and validated that we were doing the right thing. This person brought up a good thing. And I would kind of go back, and it helped me validate, that the trip was worth the time.
And it's more likely they'll answer as well if you've just bought them a drink.
Yeah, that does help too. The other thing is know your limits.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know mine very well.
Especially when it's gambling. I will say many years ago when I knew what my ATM limit was per day, and I still do this now, but I always put an extra 20 in my back pocket somewhere. Just because in Vegas, $20 will pretty much get you to anywhere, at least one way. So if you're at a casino on the other side of the strip and your hotel is over here, that $20 will get you home at 4 in the morning, or maybe 7, depending on how late you are out. But know your limits as far as what you can drink, how late you can stay out. Don't go to the craps table with $800 if you can only spend $200, or just don't go to the craps table.
Yeah.
Right.
We all know a bunch of good guys that like to go to the craps tables or poker, and everyone's got their thing they like to do in Vegas. Chase, we went and drove cars one year.
We did.
That was my gambling money that one year. That was my little budget that I had set aside, and the rest of the time I just didn't gamble. I watched other people gamble because I knew what my spending limit was for that time. It was to go and do this one other big thing. So yeah, know your limits as far as what you can spend, how much you can drink, and how late you can stay out, so that you can network and you can, it's a marathon of 4 days. It's not a 1-day conference.
Right.
That's funny. That's every time I tell people like I'm going to Vegas for 4 or 5 days, they're like, "Wow, that's like 3 days too many in Vegas."
There's some people that swear by the Zaka patches as well, the hangover patches. They say they work. I don't think I've had enough to drink when I've worn them to explicitly say that they work for me, but I know others that have said that they work for them. But again, if you intend to do something the next day.
What are they?
Zaka patches, Z-A-C-A patches.
Oh,
People swear by them, Chase.
Yeah.
They're great.
Elizabeth O has affiliate links everywhere on them.
I've also, someone said in the Pubcon group that you can go to the MGM and get an IV. Like if you're really hungover. I mean,
I've heard that. Dave can probably talk on that.
I did not know that. I might find out though. I might just go ask. I don't need it. I might just go ask since I'm staying very close.
Who was that? That was
I can't remember, but I don't know if it was Jim Bates or Casey. I can't remember, but if you're really, really bad hungover, that's an option if you have to get to the Pubcon the next day, right?
It's either that or a stomach pump.
Huh?
Either that or a stomach pump, yeah.
Yeah. And you guys have seen, like, the people that do take it too far and kind of make a fool out of themselves. Those are really not forgotten.
Uh-huh.
So
No.
I kind of recommend really pacing yourself and,
Yeah, I've had to help 1 or 2 people.
You and I the same night.
Yeah.
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 So my next question for you is sessions. What recommendations do you have for people for choosing the right sessions?
So I would say, for one, you want to plan out what you want to attend. Based on what looks good to you, based on who the speakers are, based on the topic. But you should also pencil in, a second choice or a third choice, because if you get there and decide, I don't particularly like this one. I don't like what they're saying. I don't think it's speaking to me. Then use the power of your feet and walk into the next session. Now, obviously, for those of us on this call, they're not going to be walking out of ours. But for the other people.
Right. Dave, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I always try to understand what's going on at work or what my clients are having. Like, I don't do a lot of whatever, like PPC, or maybe penciling in some sessions. Like I've done in my career, I think absolutely no email ever. So email and social media type paid side of things, and there might be a couple other things that I just don't do, but I think could help me. I try to pencil in those and try to make some of those to help kind of broaden my. It's not something I'm going to read about. It's not something I do day to day. So I try to figure out different ways to kind of jump into some different sessions and kind of get some different ideas.
Yeah. My first couple of conferences, I would go to all the SEO sessions, but I knew what they were saying, and I was like, I got nothing out of this conference. So it's better to like force yourself to
get outside your comfort zone.
Yep.
Yeah. And there's what, 9 different tracks that are going to be going on at the show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's plenty of different options for you. And if it doesn't look like there's something that speaks to you that you want to learn about, on most of the days there are going to be site reviews going on. They're always kind of interesting to go and attend. I know Dave's doing one the first session.
Yes.
So, they're always fun to see them take apart somebody's site to see what could be wrong, what could be improved. And there's sometimes things that you can apply to your own sites as well. So
I've gotten a lot out of the site reviews. I think those are really very useful. Even if it's not your site, you can, there are parallels and
if it's a site review about link building and you're buying links and Matt Cutts say was in the room, perhaps you don't get your card.
Right.
Just saying that did happen before.
I do love the site clinics. I've learned more in those. Just little nitty-gritty like details, So are you doing a site clinic this year, Simon?
I'm not, no.
Okay. All right. Okay, so my next question is the convention center itself is very large. You're going from the hotel to the convention center. You're walking all day. So how do you all handle the shoes during the day and the shoes at night?
I wear trainers most of the day.
Yeah.
Running shoes. So I mean that's what I will pretty much wear, unless I'm speaking, in which case I will probably have on like a pair of good shoes.
Okay.
But I will get changed, yeah.
If you're gonna go out at night too, like Vegas, if you've never been to Vegas before, you can't wear tennis shoes or boat shoes or flip flops. You need like a decent pair of shoes.
Or shorts, sadly.
Or shorts. You need pants also.
I wear shorts 24/7, and it's like Vegas, and I'm like, what do you mean I can't get into this bar because I have shorts on?
And Florida, that's kind of dressy, so. So I've tried to tell people, especially women, don't do the high heels, because I think we've all seen them, like by 1 o'clock, hobbling around the convention center in pain. But.
Yeah, not at the convention center. I wouldn't. If you have one session on one side and then you have to run all the way around all day long, God bless you and your feet. But yeah, no.
Well, although I haven't been to Pubcon in Vegas, I have been to several other conferences in large spaces, like SMX in New York is always at the Javits Center, and that's one of those that you have to have good shoes. It's New York. You have to have good shoes anyway, anytime you're in New York. So I'm one of those that, yes, I like a pair of cute shoes, and I want to wear my cute shoes, but believe me, I always have a good pair of walking shoes in my bag, and I will switch my shoes in and out as needed.
Michelle, just so you know, from the front of like the MGM to the like back, or if you want to catch the monorail, or even from TI, it can take you 5 to 10 minutes just to walk through a single casino.
Yes, I have been in Vegas for other conferences, just not Pubcon.
For those that have no idea, and they're like, oh, it's just 3 casinos over, that will take you 30 minutes to walk.
Yeah, you can make the wrong turn and find yourself in the next casino without having gone outside.
Yeah.
You know, we walked through the Bellagio and couldn't find our way out. We were like, have we been this way yet? I mean, we walked forever and finally found a way out. Because there's no light coming through the doors to help you go, that's the direction.
Carolyn Shelby's actually posting up some stuff in the Q&A. She's chiming in. I love it. She says flip-flops during the daytime, heels at night, and maybe while speaking.
Maybe. Well, I should wear high heels while speaking because I don't see over the podium very well. But I don't like standing that long. What do you...
I try not to wear high heels.
Yeah, you don't have to because you're tall. Do you guys take advantage of the expo hall in any way? How do you handle that?
Well, I mean, that's one of the things. You know, when you're packing, you know, you pack your stuff to the bare minimum you need, and then you can always pick up a couple of T-shirts at the expo hall if you need to. But yeah, I mean, wander around the expo hall, see what's there, see if there's any new vendors, see if any vendors are doing anything differently. Because you never know what's out there that you might need now or you might need in the future.
Right.
There's always something of interest in there. And then for the attendees, I presume Brett's doing it again this year, the bingo card.
Yes.
Where he has, you know, you go up to the different vendors, you get your bingo card stamped, and then in the last keynote, which, is that Dwayne, the last keynote?
No, I think it's Will.
Oh, it's Gary. Is it Will?
Yeah. I don't know. I have to look.
Dwayne and...
Whoever the last keynote is.
It's Gary.
Yeah, it's Gary, okay, from Google.
Okay.
So just before Gary's session, Brett's going to draw a prize for, you know, whoever's gone and visited all the vendors. So, you know, you have a chance of winning something.
I'm not allowed to say very much, but what I can say is this year there are so many prizes, it's crazy. So it's one of those things you're going to want to do. I've actually never done it. So.
Well, I feel kind of weird doing that as a speaker. So.
Right. Well, don't this year.
I never do.
I always look at exhibit halls as a way to talk to possible vendors without having to have them harass and call me, or to, you know, sit on a call and have WebEx crap out, because it never does that, or Google Hangout, someone have a problem. And to really go and ask specific questions, you know, you can sit in webinars for, you know, AuthorityLabs or for any product, but to actually go and talk to them and say, here's what's going on, here's my specific problem, or, you know, here's how I use it. I once sat down and got like a 20-minute tutorial on something on how to use a tool a little bit differently to help me, and it saved me hours. Mm-hmm. So if you're working with a vendor already, go and talk to them if you have, you know, kind of customer support type thing. Sorry, Chase.
Yeah, no worries.
But, you know, we want you to come talk to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's how I've always used it. And then also going back to the water, you know, if you need caffeine, you know, the food vendors, I think, are going to be there again. So that's kind of where all that stuff is. So if you want to go and sit down, you want to have a quick client meeting, there's usually lots of different spots all over, but there's also some chairs and seating. So if you want to bring some food, or you want to get some water, you want to talk to someone or make a call, there's lots to do right in that area as well.
Because it's where the keynotes are going to be anyway, so you don't have a choice.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lots of keynotes. What do you all do for lunch?
Usually if I'm there, I'll actually go get lunch from one of those vendors there, or I'll find something around.
Yeah, okay. I was wondering if you left every time, or
I usually leave just because I'm can't, like, have ADD and can't really like stay in one place, and plus it's like so you go and it, you know, just lets you get outside a little bit and change the venue, and you know, I mean, there's like 1,000 different places to get food, like right around there in Vegas, and things that are a cab right away. So for me, I found it helpful to just get out for an hour and a half, and then come back, and then I'm able to kind of focus much better in the afternoon.
But again, it depends on kind of what you want to see, because the lunchtime's only scheduled for like half an hour every day.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got sessions, you know, before and after, you've not got that much time to get out.
So
you can go to lunch at any time though. Especially, it might not. As I whack my microphone. Sorry, hon. But you can take a late lunch too if there's a couple sessions that you're kind of iffy about, or or a client meeting or a vendor meeting, or someone's taking you out to lunch. Schedule a little bit later, because most times, honestly, I don't think we ever really eat dinner before 8 or 9 o'clock in Vegas.
Yeah.
Because you either have, if you look at the list of the networking and events going on, most of them are going until 7, 8 o'clock. And if you don't have a reservation, or maybe if you do, you're going to probably decide at 7:30 to make a reservation, because I don't think I've ever made one before that, right, Simon? A couple of years ago when we did it, I think we had 10 o'clock, and that was like the earliest we could get. So you're going to eat late dinners. Having a late lunch and kind of stepping out and looking and seeing that there is actually daylight after 2 or 3 days is not a bad thing.
How do you guys deal with in Vegas, there's really no clock. You just all of a sudden look up and it's 2 o'clock. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Again, that's a challenge. You're moderating your drinking. You're looking at the time, and again, you want to make sure you've got that networking going on. But you've got to just plan for the fact that you're not going to get a full night's sleep. Most of the nights you're there, so it's a good idea to stock up on sleep before you get to Vegas.
Yeah.
My method isn't very precise, but I just kind of go off of how many people are still at TI, Breeze Bar. Perhaps if I'm one of the last people, this is not good.
Well, when Chase took me to play craps one night, we came back at 4, and people were still in the Breeze Bar.
Yeah, that can be a little, That's the problem with Vegas, is that everything's open all night long, and you never know really what time it is.
Okay, so the next question I have for you is, as speakers, what is it that you appreciate getting back from the attendees?
Well, for one, hearing that they actually appreciated what you spoke about, that it actually spoke to them, that it was something they wanted to hear about. Feedback is always a great thing to hear. And the immediate part of that is getting the questions during the Q&A phase. We always try, whether as speakers or as moderators of panels, to leave space for the attendees to ask, whatever they want to, hopefully around the presentation they've just heard. Sometimes it's around ancillary topics, and if you've got somebody from Google on the panel, they're going to ask whatever Google question they have and hope they can get that answered. But typically it's around the content you've spoken about, and that's a good chance for you to either clarify something or for you to really expand on something that you've talked about, or maybe even address something that is of particular interest to them based on what you've spoken on. But they can always grab you afterwards as well. It doesn't have to be just in the Q&A. Talk to you in the hallway. As I said, buy a drink and chat to them at the bar afterwards as well.
Yeah. I love meeting people afterwards at networking events, and they come up and they heard you. So, yeah. And Dave always smiles like that, so you can walk up to him at any time and just...
Day or night.
Yeah.
Unless I have the 2-year-old and he's sleeping.
Is he coming this year?
Yep, again.
Yeah.
Do you ever sleep at Pubcon, Dave? Honestly,
yes.
Ever? You do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So
maybe, Dave,
my wife will disagree, but I do some.
Maybe you could give us some tips on bringing the family. I've got. I don't know. Maybe a little different because you and Carolyn are kind of in the same industry and everything. But I know some other people bring their wife and kids and stuff for a few days. I've always wondered quite how that worked out.
I don't go out as much the last 2 years. That's my secret. Yes, Carolyn, I know. Don't come in at 6:30 in the morning when your wife has to get up at 7. Not a good idea. And then try to go to bed when she's telling us we have to go catch a flight. I may have done that before. bringing family, I probably won't next year, but he does really well, and he's Mr. Smiley, so it works for him. I just let him run around the room a lot.
Do you get like a? I mean, do you hire a babysitter out there, or can you get somebody to watch? Or how does that even work?
It helps when the wife and I don't speak at the same time.
Right.
Because that did happen before, and bless Matt Statala's wife, she watched DJ for a session one time in New Orleans because we were both speaking at the same exact time. But now, actually, I think I speak at the first 3 sessions Tuesday, and then she speaks the last 2, so that's really easy. Mm-hmm. He runs around. He likes everyone. I honestly did let him walk up and down the exhibit hall last year, and he just walked up smiling and waving at everyone. I try not to bring him around at all, but we had to do a change between us for sessions. But he went and saw everyone. I did get in a bit of trouble because he was wearing a Google onesie, and Dwayne saw it, so Dwayne kind of looked at me funny.
Well, you could have said, "Where's my Bing onesie?"
I think I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Huh.
So you're saying I need to bring you an AOL outfit for him?
Yeah, 4T.
Okay.
Okay, so what do you guys recommend food-wise? You recommended people drink a lot. Do you recommend like a good hearty dinner before going out?
I tend to go with the group for dinners, wherever we tend to end up going. And, as with any conference, plan on not being at the same weight at the end of it as you were at the beginning of it. The challenge is that, if you're going to the Search Awards on the Wednesday night, making sure that you can still fit into your outfit for the Wednesday, which is an issue I may have, but yeah, it can be fun. I mean, there are some people there who are locals, like Christine, who can help advise on what are the good places to eat in the local areas. So that's always a good thing as well. You don't end up in some tourist trap that's 3 times the price it should be.
Yeah. Feel free to get away from the casinos. The buffets, and they all have really good restaurants. But if you're on a budget and you don't want to drop, $60 to $100 for a steak dinner, there's tons of options for burgers. I mean, one of the best Mexican places, the one closed sadly, but there's another one right across from the Wynn that has some of the best guacamole and just really good street tacos. And then upstairs, there's an entire, it's the Fashion Mall, I think. Mm-hmm. There's a whole bunch of restaurants just upstairs. And I've eaten, I've gone with a group of guys, and we got hot dogs from Nathan's, and other times, we've gone for steak dinners. It just, find what your group of friends is or your new friends and see what they're doing. And, and also if you have dietary needs, worry about that and use Yelp or use your other favorite apps or Google to make sure that the menu works with you.
Well, Speaking of apps, Uber is now available in Vegas.
They are in Vegas now?
Well, they announced it yesterday, but they still haven't solidified it.
Yeah, I don't think they're potentially going to be active in the Strip when Pubcon's on, though.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
I feel like Vegas is kind of like New York in that you don't really need Uber because there's cabs everywhere.
Yeah.
You literally just raise your hand and there's 2 seconds in 2 seconds. So.
And for those that have never been to Vegas, you just can't cross the street anywhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You can't just catch a cab anywhere. It might sound weird, but once you get there, you'll understand that there are cab lines, and you'll get a cab. Just don't go wandering the street and try and flag down cabs. They won't stop.
They won't stop.
And if they do, it's probably not a good thing.
And to follow on from that as well, there will probably be one night when you're out with a group of your new friends and someone suggests taking a limo.
Mm-hmm.
What frequently happens when you take a limo in Vegas is whoever is the last person out of the limo is going to be the one who's going to be arguing with the limo driver over how many people you had in the limo and what the agreed upon price was at the start of the ride. It invariably happens, and it's always just a mess. While it seemed like a good idea, usually separate cabs is a much better idea.
Well, and last year we went to Pho Kim Long for Vietnamese food right off the strip. Not that far. But we could not get a cab to come pick us up. It took an hour and 20 minutes. So I think you have to be careful. Like, I didn't understand the rules in Vegas. Some cabs are not allowed to go off the strip and come get you. And you're right, Dave. We waved at like 15 of them. They would not stop. So be careful kind of where you go, and maybe call a cab when you're about done with dinner and see if you can get it to come pick you up. So.
Well, restaurants are really, if you're in that kind of situation too, like you can always ask the restaurant, like somebody at the restaurant will usually know a cab company. Like you can have them call a cab for you, and they'll do that.
Yeah, we did that, and they still didn't
Still didn't come?
Still didn't come. But so, Dave, your best networking tips.
Talk to people. It's as simple as that. Go to the events. I went and grabbed a list. There is something every night. So there's a kickoff on Monday. Tuesday, Pubcon's having something at Senior Frogs at TI. For those of us, including sponsors like AuthorityLabs and my company, Northside Metrics, it's Epic Dinner. And then Wednesday, I know AuthorityLabs, you guys have something at Breeze Bar at 6, and then there's the Search Awards at 7. So, I mean, that's every night from at least 6 until 9 or so.
And there is going to be a Thursday night event that hasn't been announced yet.
Yeah, I did look at that. I was wondering. I figured there might be.
Yep.
So, yeah, there is something going on every night. If you're tired or something, take a night off. You know, get some work done, answer some email, put out fires. But, you know, just try to talk to people.
Yeah. Chase, have you ever had a hard time talking to people?
I think I feel like I'm actually an introvert kind of at heart, but it's conferences. If you do have a hard time talking to people, just have a couple cocktails. Usually that helps.
Either that or take a very gregarious wingman along with you.
Yes.
Well, Chase is really talkative when he's had a few drinks.
Makes it easy.
It does. And I know that a couple of days in the expo, or maybe it's both days in the expo hall, somebody starts serving alcohol, usually like, what, 2?
Mm-hmm.
2 o'clock?
Yeah.
So you can go get a beer and, like, chill out.
I feel like at least one vendor has like a keg every year or something in the expo hall, and so yeah, you can.
I think it's usually SEJ.
Is it?
I think it is.
Yeah. But I mean, you don't have to be drinking to be networking as well.
Right.
And there are ways at the conference to network with people as well. You know, one of the challenges that people always have whenever they're doing a lot of sessions is battery life. You know, take a power strip with you. Make friends that way.
You'll make them very quickly that way.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have Tylenol and Motrin in your bag, people love you when they show up and you can tell they look bad. You know, and you're like, you need some Tylenol? And they're like, yes. So as far as I know, for me, the convention center is freezing. For you guys, is it as cold?
No.
No?
No.
I'm always hot, so no.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
That's why I couldn't stay in Florida. It's too hot.
So Chase, you don't get cold?
Not really. I mean, I guess, was there a year when Pubcon was in like November? It was freezing. But
for those that don't know, Chase lives in Phoenix.
Yeah.
So 65 degrees or lower is freezing.
Yeah. It was cold. But yeah, and I don't know. I usually don't get that cold, and if you're sitting right under a vent or something, maybe I don't remember getting that cold at the convention center. It's weird here in Phoenix because you go to like movies and it's 115 out in summer, and people bring sweaters to the movie theater because they like blast the AC. But I don't know. Some girls can get cold, and so I've definitely seen women, they'll bring like a little sweater or something for when they're in the convention center.
Yeah. So my next question before we go to viewers, do you have any what not to do's you could, so, anything you can think of that might not be a good idea?
Within the sessions, I mean, typical stuff, wait for the Q&A, don't start yelling out if you don't agree with something or you have questions. We always allot time at the end of the sessions for the Q&A, plenty of time to chat to people. Definitely don't get too wasted, especially not during the sessions. There was somebody who actually was worse for wear in one of the keynotes last year and was actually passed out on the desk, which was really not good to see.
Jeez.
So, it's the same stuff we've talked about all the way through. Make sure you know your limits. You are there, your work sent you there to learn things and to meet new people, and so make sure you're doing that. Make sure you take spare batteries if you have them. But again, the same kind of thing. Don't be a wallflower. Make sure you're chatting to people.
Yeah. Well, there was in 2013, someone fell asleep in a session, and someone took a picture of it and tweeted it, and it got retweeted like 400 times. How embarrassing is that?
That was actually, I think, the one I was talking about, and I thought it was actually last year.
Well, there might have been one last year, but I know there was in 2013. So. And,
one last thing I will give as well for a don't. Don't sit all the way at the back for the keynotes, because the sound, I mean, it's in the big hall, so you're going to get much better sound the closer you sit to the front. Plus, it's good for the keynote speakers to see everybody kind of bunched up front as well.
Yeah. So Dave, I was sure you would have a what not to do, because you're the fun one.
I am. It took me many years. In 2004 I went, and it was crazy because that's when Yahoo and Google and Bing would throw monsters of money at parties. And it was like my very first Pubcon, very first really big conference. And I walk in, and it was Webmaster Radio and Yahoo had bought out a bar, and an entire bar, and there was gambling, and there was all sorts of stuff going on. And I just walked in, and it was like, holy cow! I was there the entire night. I don't think I talked to a single person. And I think that entire first year, I think I just went back to my room after each night because I didn't know anyone. And it took me a couple of years, like Simon was saying. The first time I went, I didn't really talk to anyone. In 2005, at New Orleans, I actually met a group of guys, and for about 5 or 6 years, we hung out every year at every Pubcon. And that was like a really good group of us before everyone started having kids and, had 50 different things pull us kind of apart. But I still talk to most of them on Facebook or email or, call them up every so often. So I've met people over the years, but it did take me a while. I know we all have work to do. We all have email to do. Take a break during the day, catch up on email so that, once you get done at the day, it's not 5:30 and you're drained from taking notes and doing everything. And then try to sledge through 6 hours of work. If you can, over the next couple weeks, try to get ahead. When I worked at an agency, I would literally take 2 days off during the week. And I would use that time to catch up on work that I was supposed to have done the last 2 days. And sleep and, speak and do other things. So I would try to catch up that way. But try to limit the amount of fires, the calls, the day-to-day stuff that you're on so that you can actually focus on the conference. And this is for really any conference you go to. Try to make it so that you're actually focusing on the conference and networking and talking to people and not, I made 3 sessions today and I worked for 7 hours. Well, perhaps you should have, worked for 3 hours and spent the rest of the day doing sessions and networking and talking to people.
Yeah. Well, and to further both of your points, I've met both of you at conferences, Simon and Dave, right? And never worked with you, but you're the kind of friends that if I have a problem, I can call, right? Mm-hmm. So you can get a lot out of the networking. You can get business, you can get, have a list of referrals, and you can make really solid friends. So I would encourage everybody to listen to them and just talk to as many people as you can.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when I said in 2006, one of the first people I spoke to was actually Dave's wife.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, I've met people who are in similar jobs to me in the same industry, and obviously we can't talk about proprietary stuff, but we can talk about the general stuff that's going on within the industry. And it's good to have sounding boards. And when you make friends like this within the industry that you can do that, it's absolutely fantastic. Because in an in-house situation, you may feel like you're all alone, depending on the size of your company. And you're not, because you do have these relationships with other people that you can use to bounce ideas off, or just say, hey, are you seeing something similar to this? And when they come back and say, yeah, then it's not just you, it's Google or Bing doing something wrong.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen the same thing. When I was in-house, I had some people that I could ping because I was in my little world of, the SaaS. And it's like I didn't know what was going on over in here, and I didn't know if it was just, is it just us, or is it, did we, what's going on? And then the same thing, even when I was at a larger agency working with, Fortune 50, Fortune 100 clients, I could ping people that I knew worked on similar size, behemoth companies with crazy CMSs and crazy, loopholes, and it takes legal 5 months to approve, anything. I could ping them, and all of those people are people I met over the years at conferences. Someone I know from very first conference I ever went to has sent me and my company now 2 leads over the last 3 or 4 months. And that was like the very first person I ever met at a conference.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So Michelle, do we have any questions or mostly comments that you're sharing?
There are several comments, and I've posted those up to you guys in the chat, but a couple of questions I had, if you don't mind. We've been talking a lot about networking, but I know for a lot of people, taking that first step is really hard. Would you guys address how you can kind of break the ice by live tweeting, engaging in something online first, so that at least you feel like you have some rapport before you walk up to that person for the first time?
It can be helpful, yeah. I mean, if you develop some kind of relationship between them, as long as you're not trying to sell them something. I do that quite a bit. I get people calling me now saying, let's set up meetings for Pubcon for this product that has nothing to do with anything that I do anyway. I get people who are tweeting at me to try and say, if you want to talk, we'll talk when I'm there. It's nice to build that relationship up beforehand if possible, but I do like talking to people face to face.
Well, if you do already have a relationship with people online somewhere, and you do see what they look like or whatever, like you go up to them, make sure to just kind of remind them of I've always found it helpful. Like, oh yeah, hey, I'm Chasers on Twitter, and they're like, oh yeah, what's going on? You know what I mean? It just kind of reminds them who you are online, and so they can make the connection between that and what you actually look like in real life, basically.
Right. And one thing that I have often, I feel bad. I mean, I actually have ADD, right? So some people come up and I've talked to them on Twitter and I don't remember right then because I can't see the little picture and the name. You know what I mean? So don't get offended if people don't immediately remember, because there's so many people, right? I mean, at Pubcon and on Twitter, and sometimes people just forget. So, but the other thing, Michelle, is finding out people's interests ahead of time. Like if someone really wanted to get to know Simon, and that was their goal, maybe look him up and know that he likes photography and use it as an icebreaker.
Mm-hmm. Photography and soccer.
Mm-hmm. And soccer, right. Chase is drones. Dave? Mm-hmm. Dave, what is your interest?
Cars.
Cars.
I like, nice and cheap cars.
Just go talk to him about Top Gear.
Nice and cheap. Yeah, right.
So, Michelle, what was your other question?
What was my other question? Did I have another question?
I think you said you had a couple of questions. Okay.
Because one of the things we had talked about the issue of, go ahead, plan out your strategy in advance, because there are 9 tracks to this particular conference, and you kind of have to have a fairly good idea where you want to go, that kind of thing. If, God forbid, something turns out to quite not be a good fit and you want to switch, as speakers, what would you prefer that the attendees in the room do? I mean, we as speakers understand, we've been on the other side of the desk there and understand that sometimes a call happens, or this isn't quite the right fit, or it's not necessarily a negative on you as a speaker, but there are other circumstances going on. What do attendees need to do if they do need to leave the room and not disturb the session?
So number 1 is don't have your phone on ring. Number 2 is don't actually have the conversation in the room.
Yes.
I mean, I have seen those. I've had those in my sessions. And, we expect there's going to be some kind of bounce rate from the session. Somebody's going to suddenly realize halfway through that they forgot to go to the bathroom and need to go now. Somebody's going to have a call they're going to have to take. Somebody's going to have an emergency. We expect that. And there may be some people who don't like the session. And they think that maybe I should go into the one next door. Their office mate is texting them from the session next door. You really should be in this one. We expect something like that. Just, if you're going to step out, make it as quietly as possible. Try not to, knock the chairs over as you're going.
Don't let the door slam.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yes. I always make sure I ease that door closed.
Yeah. If I have to leave, I try to wait till the speaker's done while they're introducing the next speaker.
Bless your soul.
Because I know for me, it's a distraction. It's like, oh, I'm looking, and I need to be looking here. So there's been times I've really needed to use the restroom, and I'm just waiting to not be rude. That's how I do it. But I understand Simon's point as well. But the door slamming, I don't think that's right at all.
I think I've actually only had to leave one Pubcon session because I didn't like the content. And I just, I walked out very quietly, out the side door, and went off to the next session.
Dave, you have any tips or suggestions?
Yeah, just quietly. And the door is a big thing. And some of them, it doesn't matter how much you try. I've been at conferences where I've tried to sneak out of a session. It was a different one, and the guy was completely selling stuff. And I was like, all right, I don't want to see this anymore. And there was another one. I had a backup one. And I tried to go out. No matter sometimes what you try to do, the doors will slam. But just try to be, things happen. Maybe you came to see Simon, and now I'm speaking. And you're like, yeah, you're going to talk about something different. I already can tell this isn't going to fit me. I'm going to go see other session. That's fine, But just kind of do it quietly. Don't start packing up all your stuff and zipping everything up and making almost as much noise as you possibly can. Mm-hmm. Quietly kind of get your stuff together and leave, because you might distract me, but you're also going to make it hard for other people to hear and concentrate on the session that do want to stay. Right. So even if you're not doing it for us, the speaker, be polite for those around you.
And don't forget, Dave and I, we've been speaking for a long time. You guys have been speaking for a long time. There are some people on stage that will be first-time speakers at Pubcon. You can distract them, you can upset them, so be mindful of that as well.
Right.
I'll distract myself. I don't need your help.
We do have a lot of first-time speakers this year that, it's intimidating for them.
That does it for this episode of the Authority Hangout. Please feel free to check out the other interviews in this series in our Authority Hangout playlist. You can also find these discussion sessions as a podcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Stitcher. The links are available in the video description. Please take a moment to subscribe to this YouTube channel and never miss any of the industry-leading expertise. If you have any questions about the topics covered so far, have suggestions for more topics, or know of a digital marketing influencer you'd like to see us interview, please leave us a comment here in YouTube or on any of our social media accounts. You'll find all the links you need in the video description.